Welcome back to the show. Now, joining me is my friend and neighbor, Kathy Phillips. Kathy, welcome. And she's going to talk about the downsizing process. A little background first. Kathy is originally from Pennsylvania. Her family moved to North Carolina, where she eventually met and married her husband, Bob, in 1986. She worked for 34 years as a neonatal intensive care nurse until she retired in 2021. And she and Bob have two adult children. They officially downsized from the house they raised their family in for 24 years. In 2017, first to an apartment, then they purchased a condo. Kathy, again, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you. This is my first time on a podcast, so I feel relevant.
Well, good. I hope you enjoy it because it's fun. It's a lot of fun. So what I didn't know about you, and I've known you for several years now, is that you and Bob have always dabbled in real estate, right? That's kind of always been your side gig, if you will, even though you had your full-time careers. And so while you were raising a family and, building your careers, you purchased vacation rental properties, right? Kind of in different parts of the state. Talk about that a little.
Sure, it did not start out intentional. We bought our first home in 1986, and it happened to have a little apartment in the back, and we thought, well, we can offset the mortgage, so we fixed it up and rented it out. And then in the 90s, Raleigh's real estate market was just ripe for low-cost properties. So we started looking around, and each year we would purchase something, fix it up, refinance with cash out, and buy the next one. So it snowballed into, by 1998, we had 10 properties and 20 tenants, and what happened,
Wow, that's amazing. And what do you have now?
So then we started thinking about changing it up with the depreciation, timing out. We started changing them out for 1031 exchange tax options. And so we already had a place in the mountains in the neighborhood that my husband's family had a place, and we loved going to Ocracoke. And one year, 2008, we were there and we thought, well, what would it be like to get a house here? Well, you know what the market was like in 2008, so we thought, well, we'll never own property here. Each year we would come back, and finally it was affordable, and we started purchasing in Ocracoke. So we now have 3 properties there and 2 in the mountains, and fewer here in Raleigh, down to 6.
Gotcha. Well, that's a lot.
Yeah,
That's
still a lot, yeah.
So you lived in your home, raised your family in a home for 24 years.
Right.
How did you decide to say, okay, it's time to downsize and
Right.
just do something smaller once you became empty nesters, I'm
Yeah,
assuming?
yeah. So we bought that house in 93 with the intention of starting a family there, and like a 7-pound baby needs a 4-bedroom house and all that
Exactly.
stuff. So then fast forward, and it really was a whirlwind. Fast forward to 2017, they were both in college, and we were kind of cash strapped because we had one renovation in the mountains underway, and we had a house waiting for us to renovate in Ocracoke. And we looked at each other and said, we're living in 3 rooms. We don't really need to do this. In a perfect world, we would have liked to have kept that house just for family gatherings and the kids to come back to, but it just didn't make financial sense. So we made that decision.
And there's so many things wrapped up in this. Obviously, there's financial stuff, but the biggest thing I think is the stuff, the actual stuff. And we've talked about this before. I've seen you driving into the parking garage here with like your car loaded. I'm like, where is it going? You're like, I don't know. So how did you go about that process? Because some of it's emotional, some of it's sentimental, and some of it's just practical. Like, where do I take this? How do I get rid of it?
And some of it's inherited. We got a lot of stuff from Bob's mom when she passed, and we made the joke that, well, we have to buy another house to put the stuff. And
Store it, yeah.
So I was a pretty big procrastinator. It wasn't so much, dealing with decisions on the things as far as getting started on such an overwhelming task. So it just happened in 2017. My daughter was studying abroad in Italy, and I went off to be with her for a couple weeks, and my husband got started. He started boxing things up and labeling, and I came back, and because he got it started, I was able to then start
Finish it up. Yeah, I mean, I'm a pretty big minimalist. So for me, it was actually really cleansing. I mean, I remember my husband would say, I don't think we're going to take that dresser. And I would be on Facebook. I'd be measuring it. Like an hour later, somebody's knocking at the door. He's like, what's going on? I'm like, oh, yeah, we're selling this on Marketplace. So
You say it, I can make it happen.
exactly. Was it emotional to leave your house?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the kids coming down the stairs on Christmas morning. In fact, this last Christmas, we were at our mountain house, and I made them go up to the loft and come down the stairs. It's that kind of thing. But it definitely felt good to move on and get something smaller and
Kind of a new chapter in a way.
yeah.
And I looked at it when we downsized as, well, let's make new memories in this place. And we have, between friends and family and lots of gatherings and
Exactly.
visitors, I now feel this presence here. And it's kind of like home is really where your people are, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah.
So what's the best part of living in a smaller space?
Well, I'd say just what we're experiencing here is the community. So that's just that condo living. I can't say there's a really great part of it being small. We don't have a lot of interior storage. We do have a lot of outbuildings from our properties here, and so we have lots of storage like that. But yeah, it's a little bit of a challenge, and my challenge is to simplify and get things neatened up and organized. And I want to do that because I don't want our kids going through our stuff and having to say, what in the world?
Yeah, and I know that my parents downsized, and I think it really does help the next generation, right? They don't have to make those choices that are, often emotional,
Yeah.
and just logistically not fun, you know. Is there a freedom that surprised you in this type of living? I mean, just being able to lock your door and go. I know you love to travel.
Yeah, we do like to travel, and we don't have the yard work aspect, but we still have a lot of maintenance because of all these properties. So I feel like we're always still working on something. So I would like an exit strategy from the hands-on part of this investment strategy.
But in terms of your primary residence, it's pretty simple.
It is, yeah, yeah.
And so that's a good thing. What kind of advice would you give a friend or a family member who said, you know what, I'm thinking about doing this. I have a 4-bedroom house. My kids are gone. I got a lot of stuff, but I want to have a simpler life. I want to be free to do things, to travel.
Well, I would advise anybody starting out, don't accumulate more than you can use, need, love, want. Just keep it pretty simple throughout your whole life. I wish I had just had a little bit more of that attitude or been organized more along the way.
I feel like it's for me, like with my closet, because like you said, we have limited storage. It's one thing in, one thing out. So if something comes in, something's got to go,
That's a good strategy.
Yeah. And then with my kids, they'll look in the cabinets and see something. I'll just say, take it. I don't want it. I don't need it. I'm just holding on to it, for whatever reason. Take it. So I think
Our
it's
kids
a good
don't
thing.
tend to want a lot of our stuff. So.
No, and what is that about? They don't.
Yeah.
I don't think they do.
Yeah.
Do you feel like? Because I feel like I have friends that are right on the precipice of this. We did it a little earlier than most people do it. I mean, we did it, late 50s versus early 60s, which is a common time. Do you feel like you have friends that or want to do it, but they're like not quite ready, or they're talking to you about it?
I don't know anybody directly, but I do have friends who just live a simpler lifestyle, and I think they have it all together. And then the ones that my learning curve on this is still evolving because I still have things I need to organize, but I would say just, think about what you really want in your lifestyle and go for it, because you don't have any time to waste.
Yeah, that's a great thought. I agree with you 100%. So, well, Kathy, thank you so much
You're so welcome.
for sharing
I enjoyed it.
your story with us today. And who knows, we may inspire another person or multiple people to say, hey, it's time to make a change.
Absolutely. Thank you.